Hi, everybody. Jay Privman along with Marty McGee with the latest Derby Watch news. And Marty, I feel like we got about a month's worth today. Let's start with the biggest news, and that was something that you have reported on all day, and that's the developments regarding Maxfield.
Yeah, the latest, and indeed the latest. There's a lot of the latest. Maxfield, unfortunately, Brendan Walsh called me back this morning after the colt suffered a condylar fracture of his right front cannon bone. They expected the surgery to go well later on today, Wednesday, with Dr. Bramlage in Lexington. Clearly a major disappointment, not only for Brendan and the Godolphin people and Jimmy Bell, the USA president of Godolphin, but the many fans who really wanted to see this colt, see what he could do against the best of the 3-year-olds. He was one of our top 3 favorites before today, and quite a letdown, Jay.
Well, he's one of 4 horses that we ended up having to remove from the list from just a week ago. That also includes Charlatan, who was injured recently, as well as Wells Bayou, who you reported this morning is now off the Derby trail as well with some bone bruising. And then Shooter Shoot came off our list as well. Let's take a look at that top 20 grid right now. And Marty, as a result of all this, you've had to tweak your odds and even further enhance the favoritism on Tiz the Law, and a big move regarding Honor AP and his odds as well.
Yeah, Honor AP was 12-1 before he won the Santa Anita Derby last weekend, Jay. Tiz the Law, who everybody's talking about 3-5 or so in the Belmont, which they'll run a week from Saturday, June 20th. Got him 9-5 with Honor AP 5-2. It's a big chasm back to
golf.
Back to a wide gulf back to Authentic at 8-1. Then we've got a number of other horses, including Sully Volante in that next batch. Look good winning today. We'll look at his race here a bit later.
Well, let's start with that Santa Anita Derby for recapping the results of last week. Honor AP, the winner. Authentic, your distant third choice, finished second in this race. They finished 1-2, but in a different order in the San Felipe 3 weeks earlier, or 3 months earlier, I should say. And it certainly looked like the extra time and the extra distance far suited Honor AP, who we've been very high on in our top 20 list going back to our first list back in February. I love the way he finished the race off, Marty. And I also have been a little bit circumspect about Authentic going beyond 1 1/8 miles. And while I liked his San Felipe and the way he finished the race, this race again had me back to thinking he might be at the outer reaches of what he wants to do. What do you think of Honor AP and Authentic?
Well, I thought your suspicions about Authentic were well-founded. I really had no excuse. He had first run and position on Honor AP, but Honor AP just came and got him at the quarter pole and steadily edged away. And I thought it was a huge move forward, clearly, for Honor AP. And Authentic, again, you've got to have some doubts as to whether or not he wants to go to the 10 furlongs of the Kentucky Derby.
Let's talk about a couple of horses, Marty, who we brought onto our list this week. As we mentioned, 4 horses were taken off the list. That means we had to bring 4 horses on. 2 of them are horses we've had on the list before, but let's focus on the 2 newcomers, starting with Cezanne, who won on that Santa Anita Derby undercard. He's an expensive 2-year-old purchase from a year ago who didn't get to the races until Saturday. He's going to be fast-tracked, given a chance to make this delayed Kentucky Derby. You were obviously extremely impressed with his win. You've got him 4th choice right now for the Derby at 12-1. Tell me what you liked about his race.
Well, it's the power of Baffert. I mean, he had Nadal by the wayside and Charlatan, and Authentic didn't run all that well. So he's got a real deep bench. I mean, any other maiden in the hands of anybody else who won first time out going short by 2.5 lengths or whatever it was, he wouldn't have made this list, let alone be number 4 in terms of the wagering price. But that's just the strength of Bob, and plenty of upside here. You've talked to Bob about how do you proceed from here. Clearly, he needs more points than some of the other horses do, so it's going to be interesting to see what he decides for him.
He is by Curlin, so obviously more distance should certainly suit him. For more about Cezanne, you can read the Derby Watch feature story that I wrote this week that's online at DRF.com. Marty, let's move on to the other new face, completely new face to our Derby Watch Top 20, and that's Tap It to Win for Mark Casse, who really looked strong winning an allowance race at Belmont Park, and he's going to get wheeled right back in the Belmont Stakes. What do you think of this colt?
Well, that was on the heels of a terrific comeback at Gulfstream during the COVID crisis when it was at its peak. But clearly this horse Mark Casse has found the whole card of this horse, because last year he ran terrible in both the Breeders' Futurity and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, which, by the way, has really become a negative key race. But it's going to be interesting to see how he does in the Belmont. He clearly likes going the one turn. Don't know about the mile and an eighth if he gets some pressure applied to him, but I've seen some fairly low speculative odds on him for the Belmont. I've got him 50-1 on our Derby watch list, but that's toward the Kentucky Derby, not the Belmont. Looks like he might be around the fourth or fifth choice in the Belmont a week for Saturday.
As Marty mentioned, there was a race earlier today, Wednesday, that involved a couple of our horses who are on our Derby Watch Top 20, both trained by Patrick Biancone, Soleil Volante and Ete Indien. Soleil Volante rallied from off the pace to win the race. Ete Indien, part of a very fast pace, faded to finish fourth in the one-turn mile. And Marty, I've been a pretty big booster of Soleil Volante. I think he's a horse with a lot of quality. I don't know that we learned a whole lot today. I thought the race really fell into his lap the way it unfolded. That said, it might be an ideal prep for him if they do want to wheel him back in the Belmont. What did you think of the way he ran, and also Ete Indien?
Well, he was terrific, Soleil Volante. You know, I got to see him both times at Tampa. Patrick Biancone laid off of him for a little while, and this was an ideal, it would seem, comeback for him. He said in his post-race interview that he's likely to go ahead and run him in the Belmont. He's got a terrific kick, the kind you like to see for a classics type of horse. And, you know, again, though, Jay, as you mentioned, Ete Indien really took the worst of it. Not only was he a toward duel, but he was on the inside where Florent Giroux really didn't have many options. I mean, you're not going to pull back out of there. So, you know, it was so different as opposed to the way that he ran off in winning the Fountain of Youth all by himself. So the jury's kind of out on him. He's supposed to go back, as you've noted before, in the Haskell. So that gives him some time to regroup, and Monmouth can be speed favoring. So that will be his test as to whether or not to go forward to the Kentucky Derby.
A couple other little news nuggets regarding our Derby Watch Top 20 list. As we mentioned, there's two horses who have not been on the list before that are on the list. We've got two oldies but goodies who we brought back, Max Player and Mischievous Alex. They're in the Derby Watch Top 20 now as well. Max Player headed to the Belmont Stakes, Mischievous Alex to the Woody Stevens on the Belmont undercard. And Marty, you're at Churchill Downs on a regular basis, or keeping everybody updated on the goings-ons there. Finnick the Fierce snuck his way into an allowance race there at Churchill on Saturday. Just give us a quick update on him.
Yeah, he was supposed to run in the Bluegrass. Maybe his trainer, Ray Hernandez, will wheel him back in the Bluegrass the way that Patrick Biancone is doing with Soleil Volante. But it only filled with a field of 5 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th. I think it's the 5th race on Saturday here at Churchill. And this will be a pretty good indicator. There's not some bad horses, some bad 3-year-olds. It's 3-year-olds only that he will be facing. So he's the one-eyed colt. He has a lot of backers, and yeah, it's a neat story. So I'd like to see him run pretty well and move forward off this, Jay.
So obviously a lot that we had to cover this week regarding the Derby Watch Top 20. Marty and I will be back next week with a preview of the Belmont Stakes, which in this topsy-turvy year will kick off this year's Triple Crown. For Marty McGee, I'm Jay Privman. Thanks for watching.